All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. A rocky start to the week in terms of the stock market, in terms of tech stocks, as the New York stock market dropped about 800 points today as concerns over tariffs, concerns of some of those new earnings reports, as stocks retreated on Monday as investors grappled with the fallout of the Supreme Court's decision against sweeping tariffs. The Dow Jones led the way, losing roughly 2% or so there. You can see that a lot in the red the whole day. Let's be joined right now by Barron's Karishma Vanjani talking about the latest. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What can you tell us? What really initiated this move downward today?
Right. I mean, simply put, and it's a catchword if you want to call it, but it's like AI doomerism, right? You sort of have posts from Matt Schumer, and now today there was a post from Cryptocurrency Research, and it's the market that's already so anxious about AI as to what it entails in the future. And now we have sort of these posts that are coming up that talk more about it, that sort of put words to some of these thoughts. And so you had NASDAQ fall about 1.1% as sort of this anxiety on AI got a further fuel by this post. And this post, by the way, just talked about as to like what the future would look like. And it went beyond what we have been thinking about, which is like, yes, there are, agents out there, but it's more about what they can go beyond that. And so you had DoorDash get hit, you had Visa get hit because it's this idea that there will be no consumer loyalty, that we'll move beyond being loyal to one app because it's so easy to build an app through these platforms. And
Yep.
so the market has already been pretty anxious about AI, and we just basically got more anxious about it.
Yeah, and
And
uncertainty. The market does not like uncertainty. And let's talk about this report because we've seen doomsday reports out there in the past that have had similar kind of context of what's going on, that they're scared about an AI bubble, scared and concerned about what's to come in the future. Why did this one land home so much?
well, it's not just this one. It seems like this was, you could call it a thought experiment at the end of the day, right? Because I can post something that truly, truly resonates with people, but it feels like it went beyond thought experiment and it truly, hit people's ideas of what AI could do. And so that's essentially what it is. We had, I think, a post by Matt Schumer, who's like an entrepreneur, and that hit millions and millions of views. And that sort of talked about it's in the series of posts that we talk about that that what AI could do. And it's not just about, because the market narrative has moved from like AI is good for the world, AI is great for the economy. It's moved to now, well, if AI is here to stay and it strengthens even further, then are we looking at an economy where white collar professionals are going to struggle? Are we looking at an economy where your job and my job is threatened because people can write and they can you can have sort of these AI visuals and videos come up that can deliver the same kind of news that we do? I mean, it's kind of scary, but at the end of the day, it's just pushing the narrative even further.
Yeah, moving in that direction. We've seen different reports, job reports, inflation reports, earning
Right.
markets coming out. Is there anything in the near future to maybe have this move in the other direction?
Well, a lot hinges on Trump. You also have earnings reports, I think, that are coming from Workday. You have Home Depot. Home Depot usually tells us about how the retail market is doing. Then you have other software earnings coming up. All of that is going to be helpful to know, because at the end of the day, we have to remember as investors, you need to know what the fundamentals are, because these are theories, these are narratives that can change from one day to the next. Today AI is good, tomorrow AI is bad, and then what? Then what do you do with your money, right? The fundamentals are what you come to know from these earnings reports as to what the profits look like. Because if you have like, profits, S&P 500 profits declining from what the Wall Street predicts in 2026, then there is actually a tectonic shift that goes beyond a Substack post. But the union address that's coming at 9 p.m., I think that's also important to watch, because Trump will definitely talk about the tariffs. What are we going to see happen to them? We know that Supreme Court struck it down, but then now he says that it's going to be 15%. Earlier it was 10%. So there's a lot of like back and forth on the tariffs, and it's not really good for businesses, right? So maybe we're looking for sort of a firmer response as to really what can we expect in the future. So that's something to note. I mean, Trump will also talk about immigration, but that's not so much of a market thing. Listen to tariffs. That's important.
Yeah, that is very important. And obviously, after they struck it down, he initiated the 10% and then 50% over the weekend. We're talking about earnings reports as well. And on Wednesday, Nvidia comes out with theirs. How much are people watching that one? Because that has such a huge kind of influence on the market. How keyed in are people on that?
I mean, NVIDIA reports are always important. You sort of have a very large market concentration on AI stocks and tech stocks, and I think NVIDIA is at some of the top of the list for that. So it's not just a market that's reliant on tech; it's a market that's heavily reliant on NVIDIA as well.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Karishma Vanjani, anything else you'd like to note? Anything else that's coming down or anything else on your mind before I let you go?
Yeah, I think what we talk about when it comes to the AI narrative and the tariffs, what we're missing out in the whole game is what it really truly means for our debts and what it means for our deficits. Because I know that hits on another point of what the bond market is doing, but tariffs overall have gotten $200 billion since January to December. So think what you want of it. It's $200 billion that we may lose if we don't get clarity on what's going to happen. So I think it's not just what's going to happen to stocks, what are we going to get from earnings, but really look at what the bond market is doing. Because as we've seen from the past, if the bond market wobbles, that's one thing that administration really pays attention to.
Yeah, and obviously companies like the stability to rely on to make decisions for the future, both kind of short term and long term as well. Karishma, thank you so much. I appreciate your time here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you so much, Andy. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. All right, great conversation there about this. The market dropping some 800 points. AI uncertainty really hitting home with some investors concerned about that. But on Wednesday, people keeping an eye on Nvidia. Those earnings reports obviously will move the market. We'll see if expectations are lowered slightly to not have as much of an impact if they don't meet them. We'll see what's coming with that here on Live Now from Fox.